we are joined now by our good friend Bill O'Reilly. He's got a brand new column out, got a brand new book on the New York Times bestseller list. A lot going on in his world. And Bill, let's start with this. You've known Trump for a while. It seems like Trump right now is maybe the most confident, comfortable version of Trump that we have ever seen. All of the big tech CEOs are lining up. All the big CEOs in general are lining up to come to Mar-a-Lago. There seems to be very limited resistance to him. How would you assess Trump as a leader compared to how you have seen him in the past? And do you agree that he feels incredibly comfortable as he prepares to step into the role of president again next month?
Well, he won, and it's all about winning. So he not only defeated Kamala Harris, he defeated the Democratic Party, he defeated the corrupt media, he defeated the midgets overseas. Are you allowed to say midgets? The word
we're
midgets?
bringing it back.
We're
bringing it back.
Okay.
I know a lot of
to be
words
fair,
are coming
Bill, you
got
to be careful. It's a guy who's like 6'9". I'm not sure what qualifies, but keep going.
Yeah, I'm saying mental midgets, but the word midget, you don't hear it anymore. Anyway, I don't want to be offensive. You know me. I'd like everybody to be woke. But he won across the board. He ran the table, as they say in billiards. And so the surprise is that he's not gloating per se. And I have to amend that by saying I've known him for 35 years. Can you imagine that? 35 years. And when he was with me, like going to the Knicks game or the Met or Yankee games, right? I never saw him gloat ever, but he wasn't in politics then. He's a business guy. But he has a tendency to do two things: get angry and react emotionally from the anger, and then when things go his way, he gets a little haughty. And you did not. You're absolutely correct. In the press conference yesterday, you did not see that. And I believe it's two reasons, and I can't tell you any more because I can't violate confidences, but I know this to be true. He's looking to his legacy now. He wants to do the best job he could ever do, so he goes down in history alongside people like Ronald Reagan, Teddy Roosevelt, modern presidents who succeeded. And so whether or not that is affecting him day to day, I don't know. I'm not around him. But I know that the ultimate goal of Donald Trump now is to have a very successful 4 years and conduct himself in a way that catapults him into the history books.
Bill, you nailed what was going to happen in advance. I think Clay might have been out that day, but when we talked about Daniel Penny and the verdict coming, I was concerned. You were sanguine about the fact that this jury was going to see through it. There was no wavering in your assessment, so I wanted to give you full credit on that. But it seems that this is clearly a turning of the tide in some way when it comes to the way New Yorkers feel about crime and criminal justice. Donald Trump invited Penny, as we know, Daniel Penny, to attend the Army-Navy game with him. So this is a national level conversation that's happening. Do you think that it is symbolic of a new direction, perhaps for New York City? And do you think Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, may play a role in this? Because he's been saying some interesting stuff now, and we know he's got the feds after him, and Trump might help him.
Eric Adams is done in New York. He's not going to be the next mayor. There's a variety of reasons why. I don't think he's a bad man, but he could not reverse the horrible policies of Bill de Blasio. And things actually got worse in the city under Adams's tenure. Is New York changing? A little bit. Manhattan is changing a little bit. Not as much as the suburbs and the countryside in upstate New York. They're going red. But the city is dominated by the Democratic machine all the way back to Boss Tweed. I think he had a show on WOR, Boss Tweed, didn't he, about 35 years ago? Anyway, if you know your New York history, he ran the city. And Chester Arthur became president because of Tweed. And the machine still prevails in the 5 boroughs, with the exception of Staten Island. Staten Island is kind of independent. Anyway, this is a long-winded answer to say no, the culture has not changed. The far-left culture that dominates Albany and Manhattan is still in place. They are on the run because things are so bad.
Bill, so Buck and I were just talking in hour one that the Trump resistance appears to have collapsed. Even if you go back to 2016 when he got elected, there was almost immediately this idea of, oh, we're going to oppose him. We'll do the women's march.
Resistance.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
resistance was a big thing. I just saw where AOC lost her bid to be elevated in the Democrat pantheon of leadership. There doesn't even
Thank you,
seem
Nancy
to
Pelosi.
be. Yeah, Nancy Pelosi got the win, even though I think she's in a hospital in Europe right now. There doesn't seem to be really even an adversary that is anywhere near on the level of Trump in the Democrat Party right now. How much can Trump get done and how quickly, and how much different are we looking at the situation in 2025 compared to 2017?
Oh, it's huge. In 17, Donald Trump didn't know what he was doing. And he'll admit it. And he brought in people like Rex Tillerson to be Secretary of State who couldn't possibly do the job. And what's his name is Attorney General Sessions?
Yep.
Ridiculous. They were ridiculous. Now, and this is fascinating, and you ask a very good question. The way that the Trump administration is going to run for at least 2 years, and I say 2 because it depends on how successful they are, is exactly the way Franklin Delano Roosevelt ran his administrations. And when I said that to Trump himself, I don't think he knew that. And I said, look, you need to read Confronting the Presidents. I know you don't read too many books. He saw the documentary on News Nation, Trump did. We discussed it extensively, but he didn't read the book. And I said, when Roosevelt came in, the Depression was just hammering everybody in the country, and Herbert Hoover was one of the biggest failed presidents of all time. The guy had no clue. So what Roosevelt did was he hired his buddies from Harvard and Columbia universities. They had a little cabinet in the White House. They didn't even have offices, these guys. They just showed up at the White House. They made all the decisions. And then the decisions came out from the White House into the departments, and the department heads executed those decisions. That's exactly what is going to happen now. But it didn't happen 4 years ago. There were fiefdoms that were making crazy decisions, and Trump was consulted, but he was so overwhelmed by the whole scenario, as any human being would be, with no political background whatsoever, wasn't even an intern for any political person. But Roosevelt ran that government for 4 terms. Remember, he was on 4 terms, basically by himself with his guys, and they said, do this, and people did it. And that's what's going to happen now, which is why Trump nominated all of these loyalists to him, because they're not going to have any power at all. None.
Bill, I'm also wondering if you could tell us what you think if you had a 90-day, and maybe the kind of 90-second version of the 90-day plan, if you will, a 90-day plan for Trump, because it does feel like right now the opening, he's got the pieces lined up around him, and the opening is bigger than it has been. The mandate is more definitive than it has been ever before for Trump to do big things and get things done. What does the first 90 days have to look like for the right tone, the right accomplishments to be set?
Another good question. There's already a deal in place for a ceasefire in Ukraine, I understand. It's a backdoor deal. He's got to get the hostages out, and Biden did not help him Friday by allowing $10 billion to flow into the mullahs' hands, because the mullahs are the key to getting those hostages out. And Biden is such an idiot, and I'm sorry to be disrespectful, but he is an idiot that he undermined the hostage release by giving those savages in Iran that money. But anyway, Trump is going to be able to tamp it down in Ukraine. Don't know what's going to happen in the Middle East. He's going to be able to seal up the border very quickly. And if Claudia Sheinbaum, the new president of Mexico, doesn't cooperate, Trump can break her economy in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. That's why Justin Trudeau hightailed it down to Mar-a-Lago, because he doesn't want that to happen in Canada. So the border will be solidified. Then they have to backhoe into, all right, how are we going to track down these criminal aliens? And my commentary is, if anyone does not cooperate with you, Mr. President, you arrest them. You have Pam Bondi put the head of the FBI, which will probably be Kash Patel, on a plane. Patel lands in California, puts the handcuffs on the governor, if necessary, of that state, and you charge and indict him. You do that one time, and that whole sanctuary city collapses. Everything collapses. They're going to have to do that. Maybe to Wu in Boston, maybe to the San Diego people, maybe to the LA people. But that's what you do. And so I think that he's got a field of play that can be very, very successful very quickly, but he has to be disciplined. And he has to tell the American people what he's doing and why he's doing it.
Bill, what do you think we should be aware of that maybe we're not contemplating as we get closer to the inauguration? Is there anything that you think is a dirty trick that Democrats are going to play? Anything that you think Trump should be leery of? Because, again, we're talking about the fact that they really haven't been able to create any sort of obstacle to him. Is there anything you're expecting them to attempt early on that he should be really on top of?
There's no leadership in the Democratic Party at all. None. There's no one in charge. So that's a huge advantage. Donald Trump has to watch Robert Kennedy Jr. I don't think he's going to make it. Okay? So I'm sure he's got a backup for Kennedy, because he had a backup for Gates. I knew right away that Gates wasn't going to make it. And I said, man, Pam Bondi will be. And all of my commentary, by the way, is on BillO'Reilly.com. That's where we live. And, we're 90% accurate. So RFK Jr. is not going to, he's going to get down. I don't know about Hegseth. I don't know. There's other stuff swirling around there, but he hasn't got a fair shot in the media, Hegseth. He's going to have to sell himself in to the senators, Republican senators. It's a tough sell. He has no experience, and the Pentagon's the largest corporation in the world. Tough sell. So Trump that's where his deficits, if you want to call them that, lie. But the Democratic Party, they got nothing right now. They're on the run. They're collapsing. And if Trump is successful, J.D. Vance is going to walk in 4 years.
No doubt.
All right. Go to wait, Bill, one more for you. Quick one before you go. If you have to tell us what your favorite Christmas movie is, no hedging. What is your favorite Christmas movie?
A Christmas Carol, Alastair Sim. S-I-M, the second one in the series. By far the best.
I'm adding it to the list. Wife and I are going to watch it right after Die Hard this weekend. Bill O'Reilly, everybody, go to BillO'Reilly.com. Doing great commentary there. And also, Confronting the President's his latest bestseller. Great gift for the holiday. Uncle Bill, Merry Christmas to you, sir. Thank you, as always, for joining us. We always appreciate you making the time.
Well, I hope you guys have a great Christmas, and I want to tell you that I really appreciate you guys having me on the program. And I thank you very much for doing that.
Oh, right back at you. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas.
Look, I got to clear something up, Buck, as I prepare to tell you about Chalk. Best R-rated movie is not Die Hard. Best R-rated action-adventure movie, Die Hard, I think, ever. You know who starred in that movie? Bruce Willis, John McClane, maybe the highest testosterone level of any action hero if you look at what he accomplished throughout the course of that entire movie, even though he was a little bit jet-lagged having flown from New York to L.A. Do you want to have the energy that John McClane had when he took back over Nakatomi Plaza? Do you want to be able to astound everyone during the holiday season like John McClane did? Ho, 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 Merry Christmas to you. You need Chalk. Right now, CHOQ is the website. Leading ingredient proven in studies to boost testosterone levels by 20% over 3 months' time. It's all natural. It is the energy that will allow you to fight off terrorists and take back whatever building you may find yourself in during the holiday season, and maybe even win back your wife in the process, just like John McClane did. All you need is a little chalk in your life. CHOQ.com. Use code CLAY to unlock the holiday special, and you will get an incredible gift offer as well. Again, ho, ho, ho. Put some testosterone back in your life with chalk.com.